What are the implications? I think what's going to be interesting is how locals will respond to this. There's bound to be some disquiet in the area. In fact, we can speak to the Reform candidate for Epping. Orla Minihane is with us. Orla, good afternoon to you. Your reaction to this?
Are you surprised, Ian? Because I'm not. I'm not the slightest bit surprised. I was more surprised last week when it went in our favour, to be honest. I feel deflated. I feel angry. I've had a woman on the phone to me who's just called me crying because her little girl's moving from primary school to secondary school. She doesn't want to send her back. Last night, there was a lot of very angry people at a demonstration whereby people were saying to the police, there's 500 of you here in meat wagons and riot gear. Where are you when these children are coming out of school? Where are you when these migrants are hanging around the streets, drinking, harassing girls? Where, you know, and it's so much more than this now. It's so much more than this one hotel. This is an absolute disregard for the people of this country, for the UK residents, the taxpayers, the everyday people who just want to live their lives, who want to have children, who want them to be safe. The Home Office don't care about us. They've blatantly said in a court of law that a migrant's rights come before the local people. I mean, can you imagine, and I know I'm ranting and forgive me, but I'm so furious. Can you imagine that J.D. Vance stands up in the Supreme Court in the States and he says to the American people that migrants come before them? Can you imagine the carnage that would occur? But because we're British, we've got to suck it up and listen and accept it. I just can't see this is going to end well, Ian.
Is there, you may not know the answers to this, Oliver, but I'll ask you anyway. I mean, is there an appeal to the appeal, as it were?
So, as far as we're aware, and it's difficult because obviously, you know, when you're listening to these judges, a lot of the time they talk in circles and in legal jargon. So for everyday people, it's hard to follow. Yeah. One presumes that what will happen is in October, there will be a court case where they will re-look at all the facts around this hotel and then make a decision from there. But I think it's important, and not just because I'm a Reform candidate, although that makes me even more angry about this situation, but the fact is it was obvious from that case and from the judge's feedback that Epping Forest Council failed multiple times to deal with this situation, multiple times, and the judge was very critical of them. So to be fair, they've set us up for failure. And that makes everybody absolutely furious because they have stood in front of us and they have told us over and over again that they are doing their utmost to make sure that the people of Epping Forest get what they want. Yet they knew that they had a year that they did nothing. Yeah. That is infuriating.
And getting angry, I mean, even if every single person staying in a migrant hotel was a law-abiding, decent person, nobody disputes, of course, that probably most are. But the fact is, if you suddenly introduce 200 people into your postcode, I think you've got the right I mean, if they built a brick wall in your postcode, you'd have the right to argue against it. If they stick 200 people inside something, I think you're allowed to be a bit miffed by that, aren't you?
Do you know what? If you take away the sexual violence and harassment and all those dreadful things, put that to one side, and you look at the unfairness of this situation, there are people up and down this country, the majority of people, who are working very, very hard, some of them working 6-7 days a week to put food on the table, to pay the ever-increasing bills, to pay the taxes, and to put food on the table for their children. And they see criminals, because they are criminals, because they have broken the law by coming into this country, being put in luxury hotels, some with spas, being given 3 meals a day and having all their amenities paid for. So people are furious. So regardless of whether or not they were all angels sitting in these hotels.
It doesn't matter. No, you're absolutely right. 100%. And that is the kind of, I think, the bigger root of anger around this in terms of, you know, this being just one story of hundreds around the country, the cost of £7 million a day. And that doesn't include all the other issues and resources like the NHS, etc.
Do you know what? I read an article that the BBC put online the other day, and they had the story of a guy called John, a migrant called John. Obviously, his name's John, not John. And it said that he was terrified to leave his hotel because of the protests. John has been in that hotel in Surrey for 3 years.
Wow.
3 years. One man who has not had his asylum processed.
Yeah.
He is fleeing Tanzania, which people will disagree and have disagreed, but it is one of the safest countries in Africa. There is no war in Tanzania. Why is John being paid for in a Surrey hotel for 3 years? The majority of people in this country cannot afford to have one night away for some special occasion in a hotel in Surrey. Yet these men are living the high life, and then the BBC are saying, poor John, he can't leave his hotel because he's scared. Well, do you know what? The country is scared, and they're scared most about the fact that the Home Office and our government seem to hate us. They seem to have absolutely no interest in the best interests of the people of this country, and it is not going to end well.
Listen, Orla, I can hear the not just the incredulity, but the obvious anger as well in your response. Thank you for your time. We will speak again. Orla Minihane, who's a Reform candidate for Epping.